All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Command Your Brand Show. I'm your host, Josh Silvestro, brand ambassador of Command Your Brand, where we help CEOs and founders get on top-rated podcasts. Check us out at commandyourbrand.com and see what you can do to get on podcasts. So today, I actually have a very special guest speaker I kind of want to talk to you about. He's I'm always interested in how really sales work and the process and what people do to actually get sales, get to the goal of what they want to do. I'm really curious what this person has because he's just been known all over the world just as a sales whisperer. We call him the sales whisperer. So I'd like to introduce you guys to Wes. Wes, thanks for joining the show, man.
Hey, Josh. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So I guess what we'll first start off with, for people who don't know who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself, like where you're from, and also why are you so passionate about sales and all around that.
Dude, everybody knows who I am. Next question. Probably had some of those, huh?
Yeah, of course.
I've seen those. You seen those jokes? The guys like storming at the airport. Do you know who I am? They get on the microphone. I need your help. Does anybody know who this man is? Oh man, yeah. I spent 9 years in the Air Force and jumped into commission sales in 1997 and been doing it ever since. I got frustrated with corporate America. I was always had my nose in a book trying to get better. And, my companies would rarely provide training. And when the few times they did, it was usually bad. So I just kept investing in myself, and stumbled across a guy, a sales trainer that I really liked, hired him as my mentor in 2006, laid the foundation for the Sales Whisperer, bought the domain name, thesaleswhisperer.com in 2006, and went on my own in 2007. And, I've been putting food on the table for 7 kids and a wife ever since, and a couple of dogs.
Wow. That's awesome. So it sounds like, what made you so passionate about what you do today? Like what made you like I must strive for this. I gotta be better. Like what made you decide to go into sales rather than any other area?
Well, sales is where you can make the most money. It's literally, I think it's the number 2 earning profession behind, I think, anesthesiologists. I forget, or maybe like brain surgeons, but it's, there's nothing else where you can, and it's good and bad, right? Because you literally need no formal education to get into sales. So the bad news is it attracts a lot of shady people, which is why selling has a bad reputation. But if you're good, if you're ethical, if you seek to serve, the sky's the limit.
Yeah. And so for you, what did you like? What do you like most about it? Like, what do you think a lot of people love and also hate about sales? I know there's always a stigma like, oh, sales is good, but I kind of hate it so much. You know what I mean? So why is there a stigma? Like, why is it so bad?
So, you can look at it from a couple of angles. One, like being an employee, so when you're a W-2 salesperson, your boss, your company gives you the quota, right? So you don't have a lot of control over that. Hey, great, you did $1 million last year. Do $2 million this year. Go get them, Tiger. And that may be accurate. It may not be. And so you're kind of under the thumb in that regard. But they're giving you a salary. They're giving you benefits. They're giving you some resources. Even bad companies give you some tools, some resources to help you get after it. From like a business owner standpoint, contractors, they have a tough time because most get into business accidentally. Michael Gerber talked about it in the E-myth, the entrepreneurial myth. He said most people are just managers or technicians with fits of entrepreneurism. They're good at carpentry. They're a good electrician. They're a good home builder. And now they go and launch their own thing. Well, securing the deals profitably, and getting yourself out there, creating the opportunities is far different than sawing wood. So how are you handling that? And most people, they're not equipped for that. They're not, it's just different. Dealing with people, dealing with prospects, generating quotes and proposals, closing deals profitably. It's a skill set just like anything else.
Interesting. And so, because obviously you've helped with sales and you've done a lot of that work, what do you find with people that there's, what makes a good salesman and what makes a bad salesman?
Um, the key is just listening, find a need and fill it. Zig Ziglar was talking about that 60 years ago. People want to keep looking at new fandangled fancy things, and there's literally nothing new under the sun. We read that 3,000 years ago. Find a need and fill it. And the people, they don't listen. Guys, especially, we want to jump in and solve the pain, fix something, because maybe we're not super educated. We've got the stigma. You hearing the noise? Is that when you're in?
It might be. Yeah. It might be from outside.
Somebody doing yard work.
Yes.
My gardener comes on Mondays too.
Yeah.
But they don't listen. People, they've got a stigma, oh, I'm a college dropout, or I never went to college, or whatever. And so they have this low self-esteem. So they try to comfort themselves by bragging, essentially, with prospects, talking too much, trying to just convince themselves that they're worthy of making more money, that they're worthy of this sale. And that head trash, it just wrecks them. The prospects don't want to hear all that. And, my daughter last night, she's 11 and she's selling these little fundraising gift cards, right? They give you like discounts to all the stores and whatever. And so we had a party yesterday for my father-in-law. So my cousin's over and Ava's talking to him. He says, okay, let me run to my car, grab my wallet. And she keeps talking. And my son says, Ava, he's in sales, right? So he's learned, and says, Ava, when the prospect says yes, stop talking. And so, but most people don't. They'll talk themselves. They'll talk the prospect into a sale, then they'll keep talking and talk them out of the sale. So you got to really control that. Once they say yes, shut up.
That's a smart thing, because if they're closed, they're closed. Like, there's no reason to go beyond that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Was there a book that really impacted you? I don't know, because you said you were a big reader. Was there a book that impacted you with this subject of like how to actually sell?
There've been a lot. A guy named Roy Williams down in Austin, I've gotten to know him over the last 25 years. He's written a trilogy of books. It's more around advertising and marketing, but everybody's in sales. Marketing is just selling in print. So, he's written a trilogy. I took a Chester Karras negotiation course years ago. Understanding negotiation and seeing things from the other person's perspective. There's a guy, Winning Through Intimidation, an older book. It sounds brutal. It's not quite as brutal as it sounds, but powerful. He was doing things uniquely in, like, I don't know, the 60s and 70s. Really good approach. So you got to read a lot, and pick out different things. Oren Claff, I had him on my podcast, Pitch Anything. I read him around 2010, 2011. I like his approach on frames, understanding how to kind of own your space. So, a lot of good books.
Yeah. I think what's interesting too is a lot of people that I've noticed when I've gone to places and they're like a big sales guy, some of them the ones I've noticed, at least like in car dealerships or things like that, they're kind of a little bit like a know best. They kind of they think they know everything there is to know about sales, and they're kind of like this big hot shot, which I'm sure you've probably seen before in many places. Do you think that makes a good salesman in some way?
No, I mean, David Sandler talks about it. Been rearranging my office, trying to find all these books. Got Winning Through Intimidation there. Sandler wrote, "You can't teach a kid to ride a bike at a seminar." And he talks about, like, I'm okay, you're okay. And the concept is, I've got to let you be a little better. And so nobody likes to be talked down to. We don't want to think like that we're a mess. Oh man, I see it all the time. You're okay. It's like, we got this handled. You're in the right place. Let's get you taken care of. So, because again, people they show up with negative thoughts, um, and they just try to make themselves feel better by talking down to people. And you see it all the time. It's insane in sales, but you see it all the time.
Wow. It's so fascinating to me because it's like you can either hit or miss with sales, especially with a person who's in sales that like they kind of just gotta go all over the place and they're just like, they don't really do well in that area. But there's some people that are really good at it that just know how to actually do it. Like I've read this book, which a lot of people I've met who've read this book called The Big League Sales. I don't know if you're familiar with that book at all.
Mm-mm.
No, it's called Surefire Big League Sales by Les Dane. It's another good sales book. He talks about like, you know, everyone wears this brick overcoat and just the aspect of like in terms of the prospects, people who you're selling to. And
Mhm.
there's just a lot of people that do have that. And there's a lot of things about it that is so important in a conversation because he finds that a lot of people, he also mentions a lot of baseball terms. I don't know if you're a baseball fan, but he's a very big baseball. He's like, you got to play center field, left side, right side. And it's just it's a really interesting book. If you ever get a chance to check it out, it's a really good one. But I always
Alright.
find a lot of people know how to use that book. But
Yeah.
and I guess for you, you obviously own, a business. You've helped run people. You've also done a lot of work with that area. Do you train also people in sales as well?
Yes.
Right. And so what do you in your seminars, what do you teach or what do you go through in teaching people how to be sales?
Um, you've got to I always say you have to meet the prospects where they are,
Hmm.
okay? Far too often, we show up with our pitch deck, our presentation, our marketing literature, our demo, and we go through the exact same process every single time, and it's just wrong. It's like an ER doc, right? You come in and I don't know, your leg's broken, compound fracture, you're bleeding, you're in shock, and they're like, "Well, let's check his hearing," because we start with hearing. What? No, go to the bleeding neck, go there,
Yeah.
So you have to meet them where they are. Um, but that can be tough because prospects have been bludgeoned and lied to by so many salespeople. They have those bricks up, right? They have their defenses up, their guard is up.
Mhm.
And so how do you get them to open up and to trust you? And so you have to engage them in a way. You got to read the room. You got to understand them. You got to do a little bit of research to understand what makes them tick. And so, I've got a video course called Make Every Sale. And the concept is to make any sale, you must make every sale.
Mm.
Everything you do, every little interaction matters. Like that guy with the baseball, everybody's got to play their part. You've got to read the signs, you've got to you got to cover the bases, you got to shift appropriately, know the statistics, put the odds in your favor, and that's why I get irritated with all these marketers today. All you need is this one thing. And I'm like, that's wrong. It's just wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
All you need for Thanksgiving dinner is good salt. Like what? Good cranberries. Like, no, you need like 20 things.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like but that it's whatever they sell, and they're just preying on you. We all have insecurities, and so we're all looking around, and we're just whichever one scratches that itch at the moment, we go all in on it.
Mm.
And then it's
Like,
like, oh, there's
yeah.
an upsell. There's a guy who wrote a book, the last sales book you'll ever need. He's written 5 more since then,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. It's almost like they squeeze you. They squeeze you almost in a way where it kind of
to
hurts almost. You know what I mean?
totally. And they
Yeah.
just get you. Like, that's why I like Sandler. He died in the late 60s, but, he talked about that reinforcement training, and, you'd join for a year. Because like any skill, it takes time. And even if as soon as you get good at one thing, it's like golf, now, you're hitting 300-yard drives down the center. Okay. Well, now like you can't hit a green or you can't putt or you have a problem out of the sand. I mean, there's always something going on. And it's not like you can learn something and it's static and you're good forever. I've done jujitsu now almost 9 years, and the game, just in 9 years, the game has evolved.
Wow.
If you're not constantly training, you're going to fall behind. But then you get new competitors but also you get injuries, you get banged up. I was talking to my son the other day, and he's got a move that he really likes. I can't do it because my left elbow hurts. Like I just cannot do that move.
Yeah.
And so how do you adjust? How do you adjust when the economy shifts? How do you adjust when there's tariffs? How do you adjust when interest rates go up? So the things that were working 5 years ago probably aren't working right now. So if you're not constantly evolving and growing, then your best days are behind you. You've got to stay plugged in somewhere, somehow. I mean, as soon as we're off this call, I'm hopping on a mastermind call with some people that I've known for many years. We used to be in one, and we're starting it up again. I'm in two other groups. I'm constantly learning, and each one has a different focus. One is purely sales, purely B2B outbound. This one is entrepreneurs with businesses like mine. So we're just kind of helping one another. Another is purely a marketing group, focused on copywriting. So, what are you doing? Where are you investing your time and money to grow? And, if you're stagnant, it's probably because you stopped learning.
Right. And so do you think, because I know you mentioned that you do a lot of jiu-jitsu, and you've been doing it for several years. Has that played a role in you being successful, or in your disciplinary aspects of being sales or being a business owner?
Maybe. I mean, I've always been disciplined. I've always stayed active. I think it has made me more patient, because jiu-jitsu is not something you just pick up quickly. It's probably the hardest thing I've ever done.
Wow.
Took almost 9 years to get my black belt. And that's fast. Most people are 10 to 12, but I mean, I train a lot. Most people train like 3 days a week, and I train 5 to 6 and always have.
Yeah.
So I put the time in, but it's a brutal sport. It's a humbling sport. Does not matter what you've done in the past. You will get humbled when you first step in. So it made me more humble, made me more patient. It has helped me, think a little more strategically about things. Have a bigger vision. I've had a spreadsheet since I started. They had a picture on the wall showing kind of the timeline at each level. And I've tracked it ever since. I know like the number of days between each promotion, and I've got it projected out to the next belt, which is like 27 years away. So it's helped me, think longer term.
Yeah. That's such an interesting too, because I find that a lot of people, especially in sales, and when you talk to these people, they're not. Some people I always found they're not very sociable, or they're very like not disciplined themselves in a lot of different things. I feel like it's so like it almost feels like a skill you have to develop in order to actually do that actual job, because not just some people are very natural at it, like with conversation, but I feel like there's always a training aspect of like, okay, there's something you have to learn. And like you mentioned before, there's a learning step to it, and you always keep learning and growing because of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. You got to stay active. You got to stay at it. I mean, there's always fundamentals that don't change, but there's always plenty of things, on the periphery that, like to make any sale, you must make every sale. Little
Yeah.
things matter. Do you have typos in your emails? What is your email signature? I had a guy I was working with. It was a marketing firm, and this guy was going after a prospect. It was a good opportunity, and he replied back he didn't want to work with them because he said their Instagram account was not indicative of their quality that they were saying. I was like, what? Because they had good social media presence. Well, this one sales guy, he had a link in his email signature to his own Instagram account that was brand new and had like one post, no followers. And I'm like, yeah, you probably shouldn't link to yourself in your email signature. Link to the company until you have something, right? But that one oversight cost him a nice opportunity.
Yeah.
But people don't want to look at the little things, but the little things are all that matter. The little things make up our lives, and so to make any sale, you must make every sale. We overlook things. I tell people all the time, if you're getting an objection all the time, you are inviting it into your life. You're inviting that prospect to give you the objection. We do that through weak words, weak tonality. The example I always use is like, you're looking at some software and you say, well, Wes, how much is it? And I'm like, Josh, well, um, it's normally $3,000 set up, and it's usually $500 a month. How would you respond to that?
I would say, great. I don't know.
Well, I say normally, right?
Yeah.
And you'd probably say, well, what is it today, or what is it for me?
Mm.
So that tonality, well, it's usually this much. But what is usually? Does that mean I get a deal? Oh, it's the 29th of the month. It's the end of the quarter. Do you have any specials? Yeah, let me check. Actually, we do. Now I go yell at my boss. Everybody wants a discount
Yeah.
because you don't know how to sell it.
Right.
But you don't even recognize it. What mistake if you want to get good at anything, record yourself. When I started learning how to play golf, I was 23 and my dad got me golf lessons, and it was hard back then to get filmed. But I found a guy and he would record you from the top, from the front, from behind. I only took like 5 swings, and the rest of the time we analyzed. This was 1993. So it
Wow.
was like John Madden. He had the software and he's drawing lines and boxes around my head and everything, and looking at my weight shift and movement. And he sent me home with this VHS tape to go rewatch it. In the early 2000s, I was out here in Southern California, and Communispawn, I think they're still around. It was a public speaking thing. And, I'd been in the Air Force. I'd led people. I've been selling for years, but you had to give little talks, and you record, and they give you a VHS tape. You go sit in a cubicle and put your headset on and watch yourself. Oh, when I hired Steve as my sales mentor, he made me buy this recording software, recorded my calls, and then we would break them down. How did I do? Jiu-Jitsu, right? Every day, my instructor's watching me, giving feedback. So if you don't have somebody looking out for you and giving you feedback, you are a fraction of your potential. Fraction.
Wow. Interesting. That's amazing. I think that's good too, because you get some powerful lessons from somebody else, not just, what you think you can do, but I think someone telling
Well,
you.
not only that, but they can see. You probably know, but you don't see what you're doing.
Mm.
When you look at a video, you can see, like, where's my wrist? Is it cupped? Is it, where's my thumb? In the middle of that backswing, are you shifting your hands, loosening your grip? Is your head moving up and down, left and right? You think but the old adage is you can't read the label from inside the bottle. Somebody on the outside looking in, even if they're kind of a beginner, they can see what you can't see. But we're too shy or embarrassed or arrogant to get feedback. So you're going to be limited.
Interesting. That's so interesting. I think it's like such a powerful thing that people should know how to actually sell. And, I think it's good because you also had a lot of experience, and I think they should also record themselves just so they can see what they're doing wrong. I think that was a great point, that people should record themselves to see what they say, how they say it. You know what I mean? I think that's really
Yeah.
good. I think I've heard of one person also doing that too. They grab their phone and they just put in their pocket and just let that person listen, seeing what it also records what they are saying, but also you can kind of see, okay, what mistake that should I've done there? You know what I mean? So I think that's really good.
Yep.
So, and you also mentioned too, I think on this podcast too, you mentioned about some other stuff about the CRMs and how that functions and works. So like, what do you use, and how do you get people to that CRM?
I've used a lot of different things, and I have a CRM quiz, crmquiz.com. It's free, and you can answer, I think it's 23 questions, and spits out some recommendations, because everybody's different. There's some very good free tools, low cost tools, but it depends on what you need, right? And most people don't know what they need. Like, if you go grocery shopping when you're hungry and you don't have a list, you're going to overbuy. So I tell people, write down what you need, write down your ideal workflow and processes, and include what frustrates you. Is it duplicate entry, right? Are you writing it between your CRM and then redoing it like for your accounting? Does your sales team use a different platform than your marketing, and you're exporting lists and Excel and having to re-import them? So look at whatever. Do you need your system to communicate over text, Facebook Messenger, all the above? Do you need social media posting? You got to write all this down, then go shopping.
Mm.
People call me all the time and they're like, "Hey, I want to buy this software. Why?" Justin Bieber uses it. I'm on his email list. Justin Bieber? You don't know
Yeah.
subscribers? Like, what are you doing? And you're not a musician. Like, what? No, that's the
Yeah.
wrong criteria,
Yeah.
right? And so it's like, no. We're going to sit down. We're going to analyze some things. Then we'll go shopping. You
Yeah.
got to be more deliberate about it, right? And you need to be emailing your list more often. Your CRM is just the hub. From that, the automation runs. But again, what automation do you need to run? And that depends on the size of your team. Do you need project management software? Do you have like BDRs that are doing outreach, then reassigning that opportunity or that lead to a salesperson, and do they close it? Reassign it to the fulfillment team and operations and support. So there's just too many to say, right? So take the quiz or just message me, and I do a free call and walk through all of this for your unique situation. I can help you find the right tool.
Awesome. I think that for a lot of us who are listening, usually it's, people who are listening, usually like CEOs, founders, and people who also want to build themselves something. I think that's a good tool to see what they actually need. Cause I think like, you're right. Like a lot of people just don't know what they need because they buy random things.
They don't know what they need, but even 99 times out of 100, when I talk to somebody, I help them just optimize what they have. So if you have something, you're frustrated, chances are good that you just didn't set it up properly, and now you're just upset with it. So you want to rip it and replace it. And usually we can figure out some ways, unless that tool is absolutely like missing some critical component that you have to have and it just doesn't work, then usually I can make you more efficient with what you have at a fraction of the cost. Some consulting, maybe a little plug-in or something. I mean, it's easier to do than you think. But when you're frustrated, you're pissed off, you think it's not like, pay me for a few hours, I'll help you. It's much easier than moving platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I think you have to have the right systems in so that you can actually do what you need to do rather than just make it up as you go along.
Yeah, totally.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate the time you've given us just in asking a lot of these questions about sales and CRMs and just really learning the basic things that you should have for sales. So I guess for people who want to, I know you were giving away something or you had something, but is there a place that people can reach out to you for that?
So I've got a little landing page at 12weekstopeak.com. So the number 12, 12weekstopeak.com. It's, I've got a free habit tracker you can get there. I've got a link to my calendar on the 12 weeks to peak every month. The first of every month, I start with a cohort and lead a small group through daily accountability for 84 days, right? 12 weeks. And I do it privately, but just not as many because I can only take on a few privately. But documenting what you need to do and then holding yourself accountable to do it, you'll be shocked at what you can achieve. Annual goals are great, but they're too far out. You need to track what you do every single day. And at the end of the week, analyze, you need to have hit a significant portion of your activities to stay on track. Because weight loss and sales are both lagging indicators. If you've got a reunion coming up, you want to lose 20 pounds in 60 days. When you get on that scale on that 60th day, you're going to look back. It's reporting to you. It's revealing to you Did you exercise those 60 days? Did you skip the alcohol? Did you eat an apple instead of a dessert, every single day? So sales is the same way. If you do the right effort every single day and say the right things to the right people, the sales will happen. You cannot control if somebody buys from you, but you can control, do you party all weekend and roll in late on Monday, hungover? You're not really getting in the game till Tuesday. And then, oh, well, it's ladies' night on Thursday. So duck out early Thursday, come back hungover Friday. I mean, I'm sorry, you're not going to hit your numbers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
From 12weekspeak.com.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I really appreciate the time you've given us to really learn from you about sales. And, I thank everyone here for listening to our channel here. So if you guys like this, like and subscribe, and definitely check out Wes, because Wes is a pretty intense person. And I think you also love him too. All right. Well, Wes, it was an honor talking to you, man.
Thanks for having me, Josh.